I know I got
you. Sorry, Kara.
That gets the blood going.
I got one person's attention.
I got to teach you how to ring it.
Yeah, this was for Sean. Since he's sitting right next to me, I had to ring the bell loudly, or he would like shove me off my chair when I went back. Welcome to the December 9th annual meeting of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. I am President Catherine Staub, and we are delighted to have you all here today. Sean, at this point, is going to lead us in our moment of inspiration, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and our four-way test. Sean?
Friends, you're going to stand as you're able, and I appreciate that. Friends, in recognition of the impact that today's community grant will have, I offer the following inspirational words. The writer, Noel Hendrickson, notes, this past year, we've definitely discovered new ways to enjoy or survive staying inside. Complicated puzzles littered our kitchen tables, and we found unique ways to entertain ourselves and or our children. Amongst many other creative ways, we passed the time indoors. But the bright spot of this pandemic has been the outdoors and nature. With a mask and a little social distancing, many of us kept our sanity only in part because we were able to log off at the end of the day and escape to the trail or the beach or even just our neighborhood's sidewalks. In the same way, the following quotes highlight the wonder and beauty found in nature. We've also found that as time slows down, we've started noticing the trees and the plants in our own yards as they change through the seasons. We were once too busy to even notice the falling leaves or the budding wildflowers, but now we see even the smallest of changes as they happen and enjoy each breath as we take in the fresh air. Here are a few quotes from history that may help bring nature forward in your mind. There is a pleasure in the pathless woods. There is a rapture on the lonely shore. There is society where none intrudes, by the deep sea and music in its roar. I love man not less, but nature more, from F. Scott Fitzgerald. Also, I like this place and could willingly waste my time in it, says Shakespeare. When you do something noble and beautiful and nobody noticed, do not be sad, for the sun every morning is a beautiful spectacle, and yet most of the audience still sleeps, says John Lennon. And finally, in the spring, at the end of the day, you should smell like dirt, says Margaret Atwood. Friends, would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the Rotary four-way test.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Please take a moment and wave to your fellow Rotarians and friends.
We're not really sure.
When you're a friend.
Thank you, Sean. Happy birthday to Brian Blankenship. If you see him, he's not here with us at our meeting, but if you see him, be sure to wish him a happy birthday. Last week we heard from Ed Arnold from Northwest Rotary Club. He is again leading the Iowa Wolves End Polio Now event scheduled for February 5th. You can buy tickets to the game, and a portion of the ticket sales will go to End Polio Now. Sign-up sheets are on the tables. You can donate the tickets to a youth group if you don't want to attend but want to support the event and help end polio now. And thanks to Ganesh for his idea of using clipboards with a pen to make it easier to use the sign-up sheets. Thanks to everybody who voted by SurveyMonkey, and thanks to past President Doug Saltzgaber, who led our Quiddity Committee, who helps determine our future board of directors. We did receive a quorum to vote for our 2022-2023 board of directors. These members were all approved and will take office July 1st, 2022. They are President Matt Busick, Vice President, or President-elect, Becky Greenwald, Vice President Kevin Kassier, Secretary-Treasurer Ashley Bonenkamp, Sergeant-at-Arms Tim Lilwitz, and new board members with 2-year terms, Kathy Cody, Paul Johnson, and Jason Stuyvesant. Congratulations to all these members. Perhaps the most exciting part of today's program, our Rotary Club of Des Moines Foundation President Sean Mullen has some remarks. Sean, come on back up.
Thank you, President Catherine. Friends, as president of the Rotary Club of Des Moines Foundation for this year, I would like to thank each and every one of you for all of your support to the Rotary Club of Des Moines Foundation. Your donations make today's grant awards possible. This is the 9th year we've been able to make a difference and impact in our community through these grants. In those 9 years, we've awarded over $285,000. This is the 4th year we've been able to award a $40,000 grant to be transformational in our community. Our foundation of roughly $2.2 million in endowment generates funding for each year that we use to make a difference in our community. The foundation board designates those funds to our club for the support of our charitable initiatives. The Rotary Club of Des Moines Foundation is a nonprofit 501c3 arm of our organization. Each member contributes quarterly to our foundation. Those of you who have a green little $sign on your badge also contribute an annual $150 to our foundation to help us do good in our community. On behalf of the Rotary Club of Des Moines Foundation, I thank you for your continued support. Please join me in welcoming our Grant Committee Chairman, Ganesh Gampet, who will recognize the recipient of this year's grant money. Ganesh.
What an exciting day. I was hand-plucked to do this by a person that's sitting in the room today, Deanne Thompson. So thank you very much for giving me the privilege of this very, very important task, and we do take it very seriously. Before I jump into a few things, I want to read directly from my notes, which is a full page and a half. So philanthropy is defined as an act of doing charitable work or designed to improve human welfare. And for us, as Sean just alluded, we get the privilege of doing this, some of us every day, in giving back and also using our own talents and resources to value and cherish initiatives that are important to us and as an organization. So it has been my privilege to do this for the past 2 years, but I have not done this work myself. We have a great committee that takes their work very seriously. Ashley Mellenkick, Dave Kenworthy, Graham Gillette, Jessica Worley, Al Gross, and our liaison, Doug Saltzgaber, have all been involved this past year. And I want to single out Ashley and Jessica and Al specifically for going really above and beyond and really committing themselves to make this process work. Now we have to be fair, we have to be impartial, we have to take our work very seriously because it is your expectation that we deliver on our promise about being transformative in a project that is selected. So we had 8 applicants that made the cut. We narrowed it to 4 finalists, and then we did interviews with those 4 finalists, which meant a half-hour presentation. We did that virtually again this year to keep everybody safe. And yes, our recipient did meet certain criteria that we had laid out, which is basically to look at type and size of impact. We also looked at would it leverage other support, and in a humbling way, does Rotary receive recognition for the good work that we do? And our presenters were very convincing. So today, it's my pleasure, along with the committee and the board who gave their final blessing, to award a $40,000 grant to Polk County Conservation for a project for Easter Lake Park. And I read through the application. Well, I have to tell you this, their application was over 30 pages, it seemed like. Well, maybe 23 to be exact, but it felt like 30 pages. Great visuals. They did an exceptional job about articulating their vision. And the other thing that we were really impressed with was the leadership that is both in front and behind this project. And you're going to hear from Rick Juergens next, who will talk about why he's so passionate about this particular project. Congratulations. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here today, and obviously thank you for giving us this very generous grant. Most of you have no idea what a beautiful thing you've just helped sponsor, and I'm going to tell you about it, so you'll know in a few minutes. I do want to thank certainly Sean for teeing everything up for me today beautifully in his remarks, and including when he said the words, "stand as you're able." And we'll get into that. And of course, Ganesh and Kitty and Catherine for allowing us to be part of this and helping shepherd us through the process. It was very rewarding and very exciting for us. You join organizations like Hy-Vee and Casey's, the Easter family, Kemen, people like Denny Aubaugh, Jim County, and others who are contributing to this event in big ways, some of them very big ways, because it's important. And I'm joined today by Kara Hayden, a good pal of mine and former CEO of Wells Fargo Mortgage, but more importantly now, she's one of our key leaders on this project. Also, Cammie Rankin, who is the Deputy Director of Polk County Conservation, who's doing a lot of the heavy lifting on behalf of the organization. And of course, her boss is a Rotarian, Rich Leopold, who has also been a help to us on this thing, as you can imagine. I'm proud to serve as co-chair of the fundraising event with Bob Myers, an old Casey CEO. He and I were contemporary CEOs when I was at Hy-Vee as CEO and he was at Casey's. We did some honor flights together and developed a gas card partnership, and so we've been friends a long time. Interestingly, we also were paper carriers. We picked up our papers on the same corner as little boys on the north side of Des Moines. Both went on to be large regional chain executives. Pretty amazing story. I found out about this project out at Easter Lake on the North Shore through rowing. I'm a rower, but that's not why I'm involved. There will be rowing at this lake, and it'll be very important for the program. I'm in it because this project is transformative, and it's transformative for the lake, obviously, and for the people who use the lake. But it's far more important because it is going to transform what public spaces in Polk County and Iowa and I would suggest to you across America, are going to look like in the future without government intervention. We are receiving a great deal of notoriety because of this project, for the way we're doing it, and it's special. This project, when it's done, serves the environment. I'll tell you about Easter Lake in a minute. It's the cleanest lake, or one of the cleanest lakes in Iowa. And so that helps the environment. It serves veterans. It serves a very, very diverse population, a big population actually. It also is investing in the southeast side of Des Moines, which, you know, gets a little love, a little less love than the rest of the Polk County area, and we think that makes it a pretty neat project. But it's also a developmental tool for the Des Moines area and for Iowa, because we are going to be able to say we are the first to have a public space that is above ADA adaptive and is really going to be the template for how public spaces look in the future. So, maybe more important than all those other people it's serving are the people with some sort of adaptive needs, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical. We're addressing all of those in the design of this park area, and in really cool ways. Before I get into that, I'll just tell you, Easter Lake, for those of you who don't know, that lake was built in the 60s, and it was an old coal mine and strip mine, and maybe the last one in the area. They were going to make it into a landfill. They decided that wasn't a good idea. They'd make it a lake. They did, and it's a cool lake, but they made some mistakes in the design, and it silted in over the last 50 years or so. And so Polk County Conservation had to go in and dredge it, and it's quite an interesting story in and of itself. I won't worry with all the details, but they not only dredged it, but they mitigated it so that the water coming in is clean water, and it'll be that way for 50 years with no further mitigations. So it's a very, very neat place, a neat lake. They also put a trail around the lake, a bike trail. Any of you that bike or walk, you should go there if you haven't. It is one of the most amazing places to enjoy nature in central Iowa. And if you like to bike, you can get there on the trail, or you can take your car out there and bike around the lake. It's a 4-mile trail. So the land for that park, I forgot to mention, was in part sold to Polk County Conservation by the Easter family, and they did it at a greatly reduced price, and that's why their name is on the park and the lake. So it's interesting to note that there were 550,000 some odd people that visited the park the year before they dredged it and put in this trail. Now there's over 1.3 million each year. I would suggest to you, and I sometimes might be accused of seeming hyperbolic, but I'm not in anything I'm saying to you today. I believe it with all my heart. We'll have 2 million people a year at that park.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing. It's already popular, and when we get this lake area fixed up the way it's going to be, it'll be magic. So what happened was sort of a confluence. We had a beach area that needed to be cleaned up. The lake is perfect, beautiful, amazing. The beach area is old and tired in 1960s. And at the same time, Des Moines Rowing was looking for a new boathouse, because the boathouse at Grays Lake was going away, and we have to have a lake to train people to row, particularly people who are in our programs for veterans and adaptive rowers of all type, people with spinal injuries or missing limbs, or they're blind. We can teach them to row, but teaching them to row on the river is a little bit like throwing a little kid on a bike on the interstate. It just isn't a good idea. And so we need a lake, and Grace Lake is limited. We were going to have to build a new boathouse if we stayed there. The water is not always good, and it's a short lake. This lake is over twice as big. So it made sense for Des Moines Rowing to go there. And one of the people from Des Moines Rowing was meeting with Doug Romick, Tammy's predecessor, who just moved to Colorado. And all of a sudden a bell went off or a light went off for the people at Polk County Conservation, and they said, you know what? We could make this whole park adaptive, because Des Moines Rowing needed an adaptive dock and an adaptive boathouse. But they said, well, let's just make the whole park so that it's good for everybody. Everybody can go there and use this park equally. And that's what they did. They designed it. Now, we're still in the design phase, but it's going to be adaptive beyond description almost. I'll show you the map in just a second here. We're working with the Harkin Institute to do something called Universal Design, many of you have heard of, and we're meeting with all of the various agencies and organizations that help the people that have these various challenges, and making sure that the design we have will meet all of their needs, that we don't miss big or little things that make it hard for them to use. Trust me on this. This will be the template for how you do public spaces in the future. We already have an invitation to speak at the National Parks and Rec organization next spring in Scottsdale. We're hearing from other counties around Iowa about what we're up to. They want to know our game plan and our playbook, and we're very excited about it. So this slide up here shows the north, it's just a little slice of the lake, but it's the North Shore Beach. And if you look at this, it might be a little hard for you, those of you at the back. We do have packets you can get afterwards if you want to learn more about this. But if you start up at the top, there are a number of parking lots. So this park is perfectly adaptable for any able-bodied person, and it will be easier to access as an able-bodied person than it is today, by a long shot. But for people who have special needs, wheelchairs, walkers, canes, blind, whatever it is, there will be access from the parking lot to every space on the property without getting off the pavement. That's very important from an adaptive standpoint. So if you start down in the lower right, you see there's a little dock there. That's where they'll rent equipment, boats and fishing boats and pontoons and kayaks and paddleboards and that sort of thing. As you go up, there's a little sidewalk that arches over the beach. The beach will be expanded quite a bit, and that archway is not there today. It's just grass. And so getting from the parking lot to the beach today is problematic for the best of us because it's choppy, old grass, park grass. And now you'll be able to get out of your car and go anywhere on these paved trails. And that trail goes all the way around the beach, and then there's little trails coming down to the beach off of that. If you go clear around that loop to the bottom right, that is a zero entry. I call it a people launch. So you could take if you're in a wheelchair, you could take your wheelchair all the way down to the water's edge. Or if you had a little kid in a wheelchair, you could take them all the way to water's edge. Or if Child Surf brings some of their very, very severely handicapped kids out there, they can take them all the way to water's edge, put them in a flotation device, and let them bounce around in the water. It's going to be pretty cool. So then if you come up the right side of the little waterway, you'll see a dock. That dock is the rowing dock. It's adapted so people can get all the way down to that dock in a wheelchair and get into their boat and row. And they do, believe me, I've helped them do it. It's amazing. Up above that to the left, that great big building is the rowing boathouse, because we have to have a big space to handle these big long boats that we row in. As you go further up the lake there's another boathouse. That boathouse will house a pontoon boat that has been modified so people in wheelchairs can roll onto the dock, roll right into the boat, roll into a vacated space. We can take chairs out, modular, and they can lock their chair in so they can go out and fish on the water. One of the biggest things the VA has, veterans want to fish, and they want to fish on the water. And if they're missing limbs or they're paralyzed, it's very difficult. They have to have help getting in the boat, and then there's they're kind of in the way in their wheelchair, this thing will have designated spots. They can roll right up to the edge, fish off the boat. And the people I talked to a guy the other day in a Hy-Vee store who had lost both of his legs. He's a veteran, and he's just so jazzed about this boat. There's none in Central Iowa. You have to go all the way to Eastern Iowa to get one, to go out on a lake. Then that dock is also accessible, so they can fish from there. The next dock is a launch for, accessible launch for canoes and kayaks and that sort of thing. If you come back down to that little curved walkway and go around to the left all the way over there, there's a little building on the left. That will be Polk County Conservation's Learning Center, if you will. They have one out at Chester Park. It gets a lot of use. They do a lot of teachings. They bring kids in. They have neighborhood things. It's a very valuable thing for them to use in their educational responsibilities, but they don't really have anything available except on that very north side of town. So this will really give them some balance and really help them. The bottom half will be the concession stand where you will get the various things to rent. Then if you come around to the right, you see that little loop. That's a playground area that's accessible for little kids. You know, it's a natural playscape, but it's also accessible. Maybe we could have the next slide. Whoever's got the slide control there. Oh, there we go. So down on the lower right-hand side, this will have your name on it. This little outlook will have Rotary's name. And you can be proud of that because well, first of all, I see that and I look at that and I see little kids pretending to be pirates or mountain climbers, or it's elevated up above that playscape, okay? But it's also a great place for any of us to go and just get a beautiful view of the lake. But it's right smack in the middle of the park. So you're going to have a very, very prominent location for the name of Rotary, which hopefully that'll make you feel good about it. I want to tell you a quick story and then I'll shut up. There's a family that I've gotten to know because of my daughter, friends of my daughter, and they have 3 kids, 2 13-year-old twins that were born prematurely, and one of them had a brain bleed, subsequent surgery, and then cerebral palsy. Spends a lot of his time in a wheelchair, and then on his best days in a walker. And my daughter was telling me about this family and how they would love this because they're always looking for things they can do as a family together where everybody participates. And so I met with this family and got to know them. And they came and spoke to our leadership team. And their little boy, his name is Owen. I don't know if any of you know the leaders, John and Emily Leader, but see one head nodding anyway. Very, very lovely couple, just Ken and Barbie good looking and friendly and smart. And they've got this adorable little kid that's in a wheelchair, and this is going to be Adventureland for him. You know, I mean, it's going to be special. You know, we're so proud that you had the vision to see this project as something you could help with. And I'll tell you, you're going to look back on this, you Rotarians together are going to look back on this someday and say, you know what? We did some good stuff there because this is what they do with parks all over America now. It's going to happen, folks, and you're helping make it happen. We have packets. If anybody wants to learn more, we'll stick around afterwards, and I think I've hit my time limit, so I don't know if you want me to just hold questions for afterwards then.
You can take some questions.
All right, does anybody have any questions they want to ask about the project? Or... There's one.
Thank you, congratulations. When will construction begin, and what's the completion date estimated?
Right, well, that's a great question, and that is the question. We just found out that because of all the COVID issues that we've had with supply, we may end up with a little cost increase, so we got to keep hitting the ground hard running to make sure we raise enough money, and so we've still got several $1 million to raise. Our plan is to be in the ground and getting things done next fall. If we can get the money raised, that's what we'll do. We're far enough along, we feel confident that'll happen. You know, barring some other catastrophe in this world, who would have anticipated COVID would do what it did. But that's, and then it'll be done maybe in the spring, Rich? Probably in the spring. They don't want to start it next summer because the people that, I mean, 1,000,003 people use that park. They're going to lose a park if we're in there constructing. So we'll give them the summer, then we'll take off in the fall. Somebody else had one.
He answered my question, thank you.
Oh, that was a question. Okay. All right, well, we'll be around if you have anything else. Thank you.
Thank you to Sean and Ganesh and our grants committee, and thanks to all of you, our members, who contribute each quarter, and for those of you who make that extra contribution to our annual tumbler donation, so that we can fund our Rotary Club of Des Moines Foundation to do good work just like this. And congratulations again to Polk County Conservation, and thank you for the leadership that we've got at this table so that you have the vision and the operations to get this kind of thing done. Upcoming meetings here at Embassy Club. Next week, the 16th, is our holiday luncheon. Quartet 515 is going to perform for us. It is super important this week that you RSVP on time. I know there are a few of you, and we love you, but there are a few of you who sneak in late with that. You cannot do that for the holiday party. You gotta have your reservation in by 9 a.m. Wednesday. An email is going to go out to everybody on Friday with an easy link to RSVP, and our Tuesday e-bulletin will also provide that link. There's going to be a large crowd, we know it, and we need to have everything spaced out accordingly. So please time your RSVP accordingly. Also, another important reminder, we love your guests too, and they are welcome. However, it's essential that you register them in advance. We cannot have guests showing up unannounced next Thursday. We just can't. So please follow through and do that in advance. And we would love for everybody to be here celebrating with us. We just need to know ahead of time. December 23rd, no meeting. December 30th, no meeting either. So with that, thank you for being with us today. Again, congratulations and a huge thank you to this whole group leading this effort. Thank you for being with us today, everybody, and for being part of Rotary Club of Des Moines. Don't forget to pick up your Rotary t-shirt if you ordered one. They are out on the table at the front, and I look forward to seeing you wearing them. We are adjourned.